Okay, so let's be real for a sec.
Okay.
Life insurance, right? Not exactly the most exciting topic. It
Right.
can be kind of like, do I have to?
Yeah, I get it.
And then when you add in something like MS, multiple sclerosis,
Right.
it can feel even more overwhelming, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, where do you even start? But here's the good news. You are definitely not alone in feeling this way.
Right.
And in this deep dive, we're going to break it all down, especially for those of you out there living with MS. We're going to make
Exactly.
it clear. We're going to make it simple and hopefully even a little bit fun. Who knows?
Yeah.
And to help us out with this, we've got some awesome insights from Diversified insurance brokers. These guys, they know their stuff,
They do.
especially when it comes to helping people with pre-existing conditions figure out this whole life insurance puzzle.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to give you the knowledge, the power to really take control of your financial future.
That's what we're going for.
So no more feeling lost or confused.
Exactly. We're going to demystify it.
So let's jump right in. First things first. Does having MS automatically mean you can't get life insurance?
That is a super common question, and the short answer is absolutely not.
Okay.
It's a myth. It's a misconception. Having that diagnosis does not mean that you are locked out of life insurance.
Okay, that's a huge relief to hear, right?
And it is.
Because I think there's a lot of fear around that. So if it's not a straight up no, then how do insurance companies decide, what are they looking at?
So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Okay.
They really do look at the whole picture, the whole person. So they consider things like the type of MS you have.
Okay.
There's relapsing remitting, secondary progressive, primary progressive. Those are the big three.
Okay.
And each of those behaves differently. They also look at, of course, the severity of your symptoms, how often you experience relapses. They look at your treatment history, what medications are you on, are you undergoing any physical therapy, and then also your overall health picture.
So it sounds like it's very much individualized.
It is.
It's not just like you have MS check the box. They really dig deep.
Exactly.
So to give our listeners an example, let's say someone has relapsing remitting MS.
Okay.
They're on a steady medication, haven't had a relapse in years. Would they be viewed differently than someone who unfortunately is having, more frequent or more intense symptoms?
Yeah, absolutely. Insurance companies are really looking for a pattern of proactive management. So if you're taking your medications as prescribed, if you are seeing your doctor regularly, that all gets factored in. They want to see that you're being proactive about your health, and generally that leads to better outcomes.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like anything else in life. The more you take care of things, the better the result.
Yeah, absolutely. And it often translates to better rates too.
That's good to know. So it's not like this impossible hurdle to overcome.
Right. Many people with MS qualify for standard rates or maybe just slightly adjusted rates.
Okay, so that's good news. So now that we know it's not an automatic no, let's talk about the types of life insurance that are out there. I know this can be kind of confusing. What are the main categories that people need to know about?
Yeah, so we've got three main buckets to think about.
Okay, buckets, I like it.
Yeah, buckets, exactly. So the first bucket is what's called fully underwritten life insurance. This generally gives you the best rates, but it does involve a medical exam. So that gives the insurer the most thorough information,
Right.
and they can price accordingly.
Okay, so that makes sense. They're really getting all the data so they can be more precise with their pricing.
Exactly.
All right, so that's our fully underwritten bucket. What's next?
The second bucket is called simplified issue life insurance. Now, this one skips the medical exam, which is a big plus for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
They will ask you some health questions, though, so it's kind of a compromise, right? It's more convenient, but you might end up with a slightly higher rate compared to fully underwritten.
Okay, so it's faster, it's easier, but maybe not the absolute cheapest? Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
What about the third bucket?
The third bucket is guaranteed issue life insurance.
Ooh, guaranteed. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it sounds great, right?
Yeah.
You're automatically approved. There's no medical exam, no health questions.
Okay, now that sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, there is a catch. There always is, right?
Right, what is it?
So because the insurer has less information to assess the risk, these policies generally have higher premiums.
Okay.
And they often have what's called a waiting period.
What's a waiting period?
That means there's a period, usually 2 to 3 years, before the full death benefit kicks in.
Okay.
It protects the insurance company.
So it's like a buffer for them.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got our three buckets, our three ticket classes, right? We've got fully underwritten, kind of like first class. We've got simplified issue, maybe like business class. And then we've got a guaranteed issue, maybe our economy seat.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
So each has their own pros and cons depending on your situation and your budget, of course.
Exactly.
So I guess the big question now is, for someone with MS, are there things they can do to kind of tilt the scales in their favor, to maybe get better rates, better coverage? what are some things that can help?
Yeah, great question. And the good news is you actually have more control over this than you might think.
Okay.
Being proactive really pays off here.
Okay.
Things like maintaining a healthy lifestyle,
Okay.
following your doctor's treatment plan religiously, and really just being upfront and honest with your broker about your health history. All of these things can make a big difference. It's not about hiding anything. It's about working with your broker as a team.
Yeah, and speaking of brokers, I mean, it sounds like having someone who really knows their stuff
Absolutely.
in your corner is super important, right? Especially someone who understands the ins and outs of MS and life insurance.
It's crucial.
So how can people find a broker like that?
Well, you want to look for someone with experience, someone who specializes in working with people with pre-existing conditions. A good place to start is to ask for referrals
Okay.
from your doctor, from your support groups, or even online communities.
Right.
And of course, I have to give a shout out to Diversified insurance brokers. They are fantastic.
Yeah, they are. They really know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're experts in this area. They can help you navigate all those confusing terms and conditions.
So it's like having a guide, like a Sherpa leading you up the mountain of life insurance.
Exactly.
Making sure you don't fall off a cliff.
Right. They'll keep you on the right path.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. I think we've talked about why MS doesn't have to be a deal breaker, the different types of life insurance, and tips for getting the best coverage possible. So for our listeners who are maybe just tuning in, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this deep dive?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is that knowledge is power. The more you understand about how life insurance works, especially with MS in the picture, the more control you have over your future.
I love that. It's about taking charge, right? Not feeling like you're at the mercy of circumstance.
Exactly. Planning for the future, even with a condition like MS, it's a powerful statement. It's about taking care of yourself and your loved ones.
Beautifully said. It's about shaping your own story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not letting the story shape you. And if anyone's out there feeling ready to take that next step, I highly recommend reaching out to the folks at Diversified Insurance Brokers.
Yeah.
They are amazing, and they're ready to help you find the coverage that fits your needs. So any final thoughts before we wrap up?
As you're going through this process of looking into life insurance, it can sometimes spark bigger conversations about your overall financial plan, things like long-term care needs, things that you might not have thought about before.
Right. It's not just about life insurance in isolation.
Exactly.
It's about the big picture.
The whole picture.
Yeah, it's about thinking holistically about your future.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point to end on. It's about taking a step back and looking at the whole picture.
Absolutely.
And making sure you have all your bases covered. So that's it for this deep dive, everyone. Knowledge, empowerment, action, those are the key ingredients to tackling life insurance, whether you're living with MS or not.
That's right.
So until next time, take care.
See ya.